Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Jerry Bees. We're going to be doing things a little bit differently tonight. I know that I've primarily been reacting to albums recently. Actually, not even recently, for a good while now. And I've dabbled my toes into doing tier lists and other things kind of like that, tangentially related to music. But I thought tonight, why not react to just like other types of music stuff, other types of music content? And what would be an easy way to do that? Well, I could not react and make a list and a ranking video, which I might do. So if you want me to make ranking videos in the future, let me know. But why not learn how to rank from one of the biggest channels on the platform? I'm talking about none other than WatchMojo, ladies and gentlemen. WatchMojo? Have you heard about him? Watch this mojo real quick. Watch this mojo real quick. I don't think WatchMojo really needs much of an introduction. If you know WatchMojo, you know WatchMojo. Pick a WatchMojo video out of a hat, and you're going to see some very questionable rankings. It seems as though it's very haphazard. Some of the times it feels like they just put a video together to put a video together. Couldn't relate, right? So today I thought it'd be cool to look at some of WatchMojo's music videos. So here there's a playlist of 125 videos of top 10s in music, and we'll just kind of go through some of them and see what I think. And as we go along, don't forget to comment down below on your thoughts on my thoughts. Maybe you agree with WatchMojo more than you agree with me, which is a weird stance, but pop off. All right, so where do we start? A lot of these are really long. The True Story of Oliver Anthony, which is not a countdown. 10 hardest saxophone songs, like songs to play, or like they just go hard. You know what I mean? Top 10 best pop punk bands of the 2000s. So let's just peel into that right away, folks.
For this list, we'll be looking at the musical acts that were formed, rose to fame, or helped define the genre between 2000 and 2009. So bands that were well established in the 90s, like Green Day and Weezer, won't be included here.
Oh?
Did we remember your favorite pop punk band? Let us know in the comments.
So
Number 10.
So I already like that they kind of determined that, and they do have like a set boundary there, because, you know, Green Day was really big in the 90s, but I thought Alkaline Trio was. Do I already have to fact check them already? When did their first album come out? I guess maybe they didn't get big?
The true extent to the band's influence extended beyond the decade, starting 2010 with their most successful album to date. Not only that, singer Matt Skiba kept his pop punk cred going.
I will say, you know, Alkaline Trio is pretty fine to me. I like a few of their songs. Matt Skiba, on the other hand, I love. He put out a, what do they call those? He put out a split with Kevin Seconds back in the 90s, and what did they called it? They called it something. I don't know. I'll put it right here, and I love that shit. That shit was really good. Also, Matt Skiba joined Blink-182 after a while as their new vocalist before Tom DeLonge came back and was tired of finding aliens anymore.
Number 9, All Time Low.
Never listen to All Time Low.
With their signature bangs and highlights, All Time Low arrived at the tail end of a fruitful decade for pop punk. Influenced by the likes of Blink-182 and New Found Glory.
There's a part of me that wishes I rocked that kind of hair back then. You know, I mean, if not for nothing, music, and especially rock, you know, just could really influence fashion with the hair, and it's like messy bowl cuts. I don't even know how you describe it, or like how you'd even like walk up to a hairdresser and say, give me, like, look at this dude. But like, who was patient zero for the first haircut? Ticklick says they all sound the same. And I'd got to agree. There was a lot of bands, not only in like the 2000s, but like mid to late 2000s to 2010s, that just completely passed me by because it was like so hard to differentiate. Nowadays I can go like, you know, there's a couple Mayday Parade songs I can really get down with, but a lot of it just blended in so much together.
Number 8, Good Charlotte. After a modest
Love
debut
a good
in
Charlotte.
2000,
Love a
this
good Charlotte.
pop-punk band struck a chord
Great
with their
Charlotte,
next
even.
several.
Banger. Fucking banger.
Not only did they go triple
a great album,
platinum,
too.
but they also showcased
Like that album in particular, it's just so much fun. One of them is married to Cameron Diaz. Good for her.
Number 7, Panic at the Disco.
Okay, this is where I gotta call the TO. This is where I gotta call the TO. This is Panic at the Disco wrote like one kind of pop punky album, in my opinion. That was the first one. Pretty Odd, which in my opinion, it's one of my favorite albums of all time, is not a punk pop record in the slightest. It's so different, and then they just get progressively more different as time goes on, and then kind of just do the whole pop sellout thing. Brendan Urie's voice kind of slips into pop punk no matter what genre they're trying to do, so I get it. Panic at the Disco in the 2010s is tragic. Yeah, because they started out like really, really promising.
Upon the release of their triple platinum debut, A Fever You Can't Sweat Out, Panic at the Disco rewrote the pop punk handbook.
Well, imagine as I'm pacing the pews in a church corridor.
Singer Brendan Urie's impeccable range and versatility
Great
flies in the
vocalist.
face of the
Say whatever you
stereotypical
want, but
frontman.
he is a great vocalist.
Closing out the decade with their hit 9 in the Afternoon, the group shed much of their gothic elements for a Beatles-inspired sound.
We're feeling so good, just the way.
I've always said that Pretty Odd, which is where 9 in the Afternoon is from, is one of the best examples of trying to do Sgt. Pepper and not completely falling on your face and actually kind of succeeding. They switched up their sound a lot. It was a very brave move, and I liked it quite a bit. It's not pop punk. It isn't pop punk, but it's good. It's really, really good.
No matter the style, Panic at the Disco's theatrical flair set them apart from the pop punk pack.
If you love me,
Maybe because they weren't pop punk? Maybe?
Number 6, Jimmy Eat World. Heavily influenced by emo, Jimmy Eat World...
I was going to say, I would say probably a little bit more emo than pop punk, but then you're kind of splitting hairs in between them, because I'd say this is probably one of the best examples of a good fusion between the two.
American album spoke to an entire generation of pop punk listeners.
don't write yourself off yet.
With their 4th record giving them mainstream success, the Arizona band stretched the limits of the previously narrow genre.
So good. So, what are the defining traits for pop punk versus emo? There is a lot of overlap between the two. I think you'd even, like, if you were a pop punk purist and you were watching this, none of these bands at all were pop punk, because you might be maybe one of the 2010s pop punk people and go, this isn't modern baseball. This isn't the Front Bottoms, you know, like that style of pop, you know, this isn't Joyce Maynor or anything like that. I would say that anything that could be called pop punk, I'm in this school of thought. It is punk that is popular or is colored in a way that satisfies the pop kind of sound. So honestly, Green Day from Dookie, I would even call pop punk, right? And then they say that at the beginning, you know, we're not including Green Day in this. I think the biggest example of pop punk would probably be Blink-182, and that's, you know, it's besides like Red Hot Chili Peppers. I tend to not like Blink-182 at all. It's like that kind of like voice there, whereas emo, the root of emo comes from like hardcore punk, and then, you know, I think some pop punk kids kind of appropriated it into making it like sad emotional instead of like aggressive emotional. You know, there's that amazing Copy Pasta, like, you know, like real emo isn't like pop punk. It's not Midwest emo. Like real emo is like hateful and violent and shit like that. And Jimmy Eat World took a lot of hardcore emo sounds, but like delivered it vocally in a very, very pop punk way.
Number 5, Sum 41.
Love
Pop punk
Sum
wasn't
41.
just an American phenomenon. Crossing over from Canada, Sum 41 provided a jolt of refreshing music from Ajax, Ontario. Their debut, All Killer No Filler, would see them achieve platinum success in the US and Canada.
I would say Avril Lavigne is very pop punk. If you're putting it into like a 2000s pop punk, I don't think you can say that Avril Lavigne wasn't pop punk. If Sum 41's going to be pop punk, which is exactly it. They made music that was very punky, and especially this album, All Killer No Filler. Once you get to Chuck, like, Does This Look Infected? they get a little bit harder, especially on Chuck, where they take a little bit more hardcore punk influence out of things, and even a little bit of metal.
Fat Lip and the equally catchy In Too Deep put a raw spin on pop punk.
A great record. It's such a good album.
Following that, their second and third albums continued their commercial streak and made the group one of Canada's most successful bands. Number 4, Paramore.
Okay.
We're willing to bet most people have the chorus of at least one Paramore song committed to memory. Off their second album, Riot, this iconic song was one of several impressive tunes that pushed the album into platinum status.
No notes here. I love Paramore. I'm never going to say a bad word about Paramore.
Lead singer Hayley Williams stood out as a versatile talent that could command a band and collaborate with other artists. Showing that pop punk wasn't merely a guy's genre, Paramore is still one of the most notable female-fronted bands in the genre. Number 3, New Found Glory.
You know, I never liked the cut of New Found Glory's jib. I know a lot of people really love New Found Glory, and it's like one of those examples of a lot of people I love New Found Glory, so I guess they're not that bad, but they would fit into this scheme, you know, with these other bands, Sum 41, Good Charlotte. New Found Glory fits right in there. So even though I might not like them personally, I think, you know, if they're number 3 on this list.
Formed in 1997, New Found Glory rose to fame in the 2000s, alongside a host of huge pop-punk talent. Their self-titled debut album made the alternative charts with the track Hit or Miss. Upon the release of their third album, Sticks and Stones, the group went on an acclaimed run with singles like My Friends Over You. While they didn't achieve the same sales numbers as their fellow bands, New Found Glory stuck it out with a prolific and inspiring pop-punk discography.
Yeah, there's just something about this, like, it, you know, and let me know if I'm wrong, but to me, New Found Glory was just very generic, you know, and I tried. Now, I haven't tried it in a while. This was like back when I was in high school, because it was like, oh, if you like these bands, you should like New Found Glory, and I just never did.
Number 2, Fall Out Boy. Carrying the torch.
Again, it's one of those where I think it's just it's a harder alternative band that pop punk kids really liked. And especially with Fall Out Boy, because they went like full pop alternative. Because like when you think it like, you know, Panic at the Disco, Fall Out Boy, nothing that past like some very shallow aesthetic choices screams punk to me. Where I think pop punk, you should still be very punk. And is it just in the chord progressions? Maybe how some of the guitars are toned. Again, I think this is just, I think Fall Out Boy is a band that I think pop punk kids also liked a lot. I would not call them pop punk.
Of pop and emo punk, Fall Out Boy made a name for themselves during the genre's peak in the mid-2000s. With music from singer Patrick Stump and lyrics from bassist Pete Wentz, the group garnered adoring fans for their clever and entertaining take on the genre.
And then even though I say all this, there are some Fall Out Boy songs that I really do enjoy, and this is one of them. I do really like Sugar We're Going Down.
The band were among the most played and commercially viable bands of their day. While they've experimented with their sound since then, Fall Out Boy's accomplishments provided listeners with over a decade of amazing music.
See, like, I think Thanks for the Memories and Sugar We're Going Down have actually, like, aged pretty well. I don't know if they're pop punk, but it's aged pretty well.
Before we unveil our number 1 pick, here are
Gotta
some
get to the honorable mentions.
Simple Plan. These Canadians rode the wave.
Yeah, what the fuck? You're gonna put, like, Panic at the Disco in over Simple Plan? Absolutely not. Absolutely not.
Of two.
I don't even like Simple Plan all that much, but they scream pop punk way heavier to me than even Paramore does, honestly.
2000s pop punk with songs like I'm Just a Kid.
Yeah, this... I'm just a kid. This is pop punk.
The All-American Rejects. Power pop and pop punk collided to
Power
create
pop?
this hit-making rock band.
Yeah, like, that's not punk to me. That's just not punk to me.
Yellow Card. Hits
Yes.
like Ocean Avenue made Yellow Card
Again,
a formidable
how is
force
this
of
not,
pop punk
like-
in the 2000s.
They got a violin. But again, it screams pop punk a little bit harder to me. It just does.
Taking Back Sunday.
Oh my God. Yeah, and then this is another band like Jimmy Eat World that I think blended a little bit more emo into their shit as well. I feel like Taking Back Sunday, if anything, was, and this is coming from, I don't typically or have enjoyed them in the past, but their fans fucking adore them. And it seems like it's like headier kind of pop punk too. It says here, this edgier pop punk band made a splash with their album Louder Now. It seems like more like, you know, if you were a teenager back in the early 2000s, mid to early 2000s, if you're taking any band with you into your 40s, it's probably Taking Back Sunday.
This edgier pop punk band made a splash with their album Louder Now.
Yeah, I don't know with how celebrated fucking Taking Back Sunday is that you're not even gonna include them on the list.
Two bands had a better Millennium
okay.
celebration than Blink-182.
Yeah, I saw this one coming from a mile away. I would say that Blink-182 is the quintessential pop punk band. You know I said earlier that like Green Day would be considered pop punk, but I think more like they fit into pop punk nicely, Green Day. But more than that, I think they're just a great punk band. And honestly, I would even argue if you're talking about the best punk bands of all time, you got like the Misfits, the Ramones, the Clash, and Green Day. Those are like the big ones. And I've never enjoyed Blink-182. It is the you know, the where are you? Like, you know, all of that crap. I found myself getting used to the whinier kind of vocal delivery of a lot of pop punk over the years, but I don't know if I can get past that. But yes, but I do agree that Blink-182 is best, most well-known quintessential pop punk band of all time. It's easy.
Small things, true care.
SpongeBob, Patrick.
SpongeBob, Patrick, Squidward, Sandy.
This is shit I can get down with.
SpongeBob, Patrick, Squidward, Sandy, Mr. Krabs, Plankton Harry.
Diggity dog. Breaking. Diggity dog. Shark. Breaking.